We are live, Flurry Sports Fantasy Football Start Sit Show. Of course, if you've made it to Week 16, you are definitely in your fantasy football playoffs, more than likely in your fantasy football semifinals. I know there are a few leagues, one of them that Coach and I are actually both involved in that is already into the championship week. They're doing a 2-week championship, a little smaller league. So maybe you're in your fantasy championship already. If you're playing in Week 16, bottom line is you have had a good season. So we are glad that you are joining us here tonight, and hopefully we can help you out with your lineup decisions and whatnot. Coach Kevin Schroeder, as always, has penned his fantasy football start sit columns. All three of those articles are up now over on flurrysports.org. So we'll be running through those here on the show as well. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Managed to make it in 5 leagues, week 16. So I'm doing pretty good. It took a little luck there coming down to Monday night. I needed 18 points Jalen Hurts and less than 14 out of Russell Wilson, or less than 20 out of Russell Wilson, and was able to hit both those. So
there you go. This man knows what he's talking about. So if he's in his if he's playing Week 16 in 5 of 6 leagues, I think Coach knows what he's doing. I am not playing in 5 of 6 leagues this week. I am playing in more than one league this week. I'll leave it at that. I don't even know if I was in 6 leagues this year, actually. So we'll call it there. But definitely follow Coach's advice over mine. I think that is what the takeaway is there. We do have Thursday Night Football tonight. It is a fun game, the 49ers and the Titans. And it looks like, Coach, if you want to jump right into things here, we have got a question already from James in the chat that has to do with Thursday Night Football tonight. As I said, the 49ers and the Titans. So, James, thank you for the question. Kicking us off here. We'll dive right in. We have got Brandon Ayuk or Brandon Cooks. Half PPR league. James says he benched Brandon Cooks for Ayuk last week, and it cost him in the playoffs in one league. He does not want to make the same mistake in his other league. All right, so I think most weeks I would say definitely Brandon Cooks of these two. Brandon Cooks for me, I mean, I'm kind of maybe a little bit biased just because he's, one of my favorite players, but really kind of matchup proof. Even with a terrible Houston team, even with Davis Mills playing quarterback, Brandon Cooks has continued to get it done. There was a wild stat. I'll have to see if I can find it. Davis Mills throwing to Brandon Cooks versus all other receivers this season. It's crazy. Coach, what do you think about this one? Of course, the difference this week is Brandon Cooks wound up on the in virus protocols a couple days ago.
Yeah, that's a tough one. With the virus and the effect that's having, it's tough to take some of these guys in later games. I'm finding myself more and more leaning towards taking guys playing in earlier games just because I know they're going to play, and that in a if Cooks does play, I prefer Cooks this week, but there's the choice you have to make on a Thursday, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would look at it like this. This would be kind of the tiebreaker. If you are feeling pretty solid about your chances, and just need a body in there to get you something, I think maybe Ayuk's the play. But if you need, if you're a bit of an underdog and you need to maybe swing for the fences a little bit, need a little bit more upside, I think you might be better off holding out for Cooks. I guess that would be my advice in that regard, because I do think Cooks is the better play in a bubble. But with the COVID protocols being what they are, it's if he doesn't clear those, then you might be SOL. So
yeah, so he does have Javonte Williams sitting on his bench in case Brandon Cooks doesn't play. So I'm going to foreshadow Coach's running backs article a little bit. He likes the Broncos running backs this week. So does that change your thinking? Would you steer clear of Ayuk here? Because the matchup tonight for the Niners is not bad. You can pass on the Titans. If anything, their numbers would suggest that George Kittle might be the guy who's somewhat limited. Tennessee's done a decent job against tight ends this season. But then again, obviously this 49ers offense, they want to run the ball as much as they possibly can, no matter who they're playing. I think they'll be able to establish that ground game as well. Does knowing he has Javonte Williams change your outlook on James' scenario here?
So with Javonte Williams, I would start him over both.
There you go.
I would. Javonte Williams to me is the best option of those three. Especially, is it PPR or half PPR?
It is half PPR. So
in a half PPR, I would certainly go with Javonte Williams over both those.
Okay. All right, there you have it. So hopefully we took care of your problem. At least you can delay it till Sunday, James. But Coach likes Javonte Williams over both Brandon Cooks and Brandon Ayuk. That you mentioned too in the chat there. He was saying how Cooks seems to have such a much better rapport with Davis Mills than Tyrod Taylor. He's played well with both quarterbacks under there. It was just a couple of weeks where Tyrod Taylor and the Texans did absolutely nothing, where everyone struggled. But the stat I was mentioning earlier, so this is from Aaron Rice on Twitter. Davis Mills, when he's targeting Brandon Cooks, 72% completion rate, 7.85 yards per attempt, 10.3 air yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. Davis Mills targeting anyone else in the Houston offense, 67.1% completion rate, 6.29 yards per attempt, 5.6 air yards per attempt, 6 touchdowns, 7 picks. So there's a significant bump in Davis Mills' performance when he is throwing to Brandon Cooks. Let's see here. James has some more. What about Antonio Brown? He did pick him up off waivers. So he has AB and CeeDee Lamb starting at wide receivers 1 and 2. And then it's down to Cooks, Ayuk, and Javonte for the flex. So do you like how he's laid that out there overall? Would you still stick Javonte Williams in there at flex? Did that make sense how I read that off? Sorry.
Yeah.
My
I
dog
like
literally just
Brown
put
a
me
lot
on the
this
finger
week, too.
too.
I think with Evans and Godwin going down last week, I think Antonio Brown, I'm hearing that he's ready to go this week. So I think he's plug him back in. To me, of those 4 guys, I would take Javonte and Antonio Brown would be my top 2 of those. And I don't even think it's particularly close. I think Antonio Brown's going to step in, and I think Brady will hit him for at least 1 this week with the dearth of other options there. So,
yeah, I like AB as well. Would you consider? I don't know that you'd go Ayuk over CeeDee Lamb. Would you consider if Brandon Cooks clears protocol going him over CeeDee Lamb? Dallas against Washington, a pretty good matchup there.
Yeah, I think Lamb's just such a dynamic receiver. I really like Lamb a lot as far as just an athlete on the field, and he's just playing. He's on a different level when he catches the ball. I prefer Lamb over Cooks. Plus, I think that offense does have more potential if they get things clicking. The Washington pass defense has been susceptible, so I think that this is the week that they turn it around and start another. Preview into my article as far as starting quarterbacks. I did have Dak as a start this week for those that were kind of wondering about his last few games here. So I think the Cowboys offense is a good spot this week. And I think I would prefer Lamb over Cooks.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would be right there with you as well. So we're looking at Antonio Brown, CeeDee Lamb. We agree with you, James. And then Coach recommends Javonte Williams over the two other receivers there. So that would be the way to go. If something happens to Javonte Williams, or if you do want to go with one of those receivers, I think we would both agree skip Ayuk tonight. And if Cooks does clear protocol, that would be the preferred choice over Ayuk anyway. So if you really do want to go that route, but half PPR, I tend to agree with the running back there. Denver's offense is really flowing through those two running backs and really the two tight ends even now more than the receivers. So great matchup there with the Raiders as well. Defense question for us as well. No worries about the overload. Coach, what do you think about starting the Eagles or the Colts as a fantasy defense this week? The Chiefs are also available. So I can tell you one of the leagues I am in, it's a 16-teamer, so there's not a ton of defenses available, but I picked up the Chiefs, and I am rolling with them this week, I believe, pending. The one thing I would say with the Chiefs is they got to get some guys back from virus. Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, a couple guys are on that list, Willie Gay. And then the Eagles we got playing the Giants, so that's a great matchup. The Colts we've got playing the Cardinals. So is it a great matchup? I think that matchup plays right into Indy's hands. Any strong lean on this one?
Yeah, so for that, I'm not always my defenses are always kind of an issue that I tend to go with counting stats for that as far as sacks, interceptions, who's got the best shot at those. Between these two, or between these three, I would lean Eagles would be my my top pick of those. Then I would probably go Chiefs next, Colts third, in that order.
All right. I'm just looking at the latest over under. So the total for Giants Eagles is all the way down at 40.5 now. Those two teams combined for a whopping 20 points the first game. Giants won it only because Jalen Hurts, that was like his worst game of the year. I'm not scared of Mike Glennon. I'm not scared of anything the Giants have going. I would side with the Eagles there as well. I like the Chiefs, but again, with Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, the linebacker, Travarius Ward, their top corner, also on the virus list. That's a tricky situation that I really, would kind of like to avoid if I'm able to. I'll have to look and see what else I have out there available for me in that league. But I think I would side with Coach's breakdown there overall. You think the Colts should do well against the Cardinals, but you never know, right? If Arizona bounces back, that's easily, I think, the best offense of the three opponents. In terms of consistency, the Cardinals don't have it, but I would grade their offense higher than the Giants for sure, and I think even Pittsburgh. You just don't really know what you're going to get out of the Steelers there as well. So hopefully that's helped clear things up for you. Coach, why don't we jump into that running backs start sit article that we had mentioned? We were talking about Javonte Williams as a start, of course, helping James out. And if anyone else watching has any questions for Week 16, Thursday Night Football, or this weekend, drop them in the chat, and we will be sure to get to those. We're here to serve you first and foremost. So feel free to ask away. Coach, you actually in the article, though, you have starting both Broncos running backs. So this is not just a Javonte Williams thing. You think there's enough love to go around between him and Melvin Gordon this week?
Yeah, the Raiders' run defense is pretty questionable. So I think for me, Javonte Williams is an RB1 this week, and I think Melvin Gordon's an RB2. I'm pretty confident rolling both of them out there. I think Gordon gets his 10 to 12 touches, has a good shot at a touchdown. And Drew Lock at quarterback for the Broncos, I think they're going to try and rely on the running game as much as possible here.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Now, interesting, the Raiders secondary banged up. It is even more banged up now. They lost Jonathan Abram for the season. They lost Trayvon Mullen for the season. So part of me almost feels like if Denver really wants to let Drew Lock, just uncork him in this game, like Drew Lock is more capable of pushing the ball down the field than Teddy Bridgewater. Now, is he capable of doing that without making mistakes? That we don't know. He does know he's going to be the starter. He's got a full week of practice. So part of me wonders, and, we've talked about Jerry Jeudy on this show. How do you feel about Denver receivers like a Jerry Jeudy, a Cortland Sutton, these guys who, for the most part, it feels like, owners who have stuck with them probably aren't in the fantasy playoff semifinals just because it's been so brutal lately, or they're on waivers again because people have had to drop them and move on. And we've advised some people to do that ourselves here the past few weeks. How do you feel about them, though, this week? The matchup can't get much better. Are they going to unleash Drew Lock here a little bit? What are your thoughts there?
At this point in the season, you kind of have to have shown a little something for me to get you in my lineup when it's it's a semifinal week, championship week. If you're relying on the Broncos and parts of their passing game, I guess Noah Fant would be playable at tight end this week. I don't know if I'd want to go down the road of certainly not Cortland Sutton. Jerry Jeudy, I could see if you're in a pinch, but I'd prefer to look elsewhere. Just because at this point you want to feel good about the guys in your lineup. You want to feel that you have something that you're relying on. And granted, there's some injuries there. I think the Denver Broncos, I think they want to run the ball. They want to play defense. I think that's how they want to play too. So for me, it's I think I'm looking at Williams, Gordon, and Fant, and that would be about it.
Yeah, it's tough to go further than that. I threw Big Alberto in the tight end streamers article as the real deep dive play, just because he and Locke had the time together at Missouri. Quietly tied for the team lead, I think, in receiving yards it was last week. He's had some targets here the past few weeks, even with Bridgewater in there. So he's like the deep tight end streamer in that column this week, which, by the way, we have streamer articles. Every position over on flurrysports.org, so you can check those out when you're over reading Coaches Start Sit advice as well. But yeah, it is tough to trust any of those receivers. We're talking about playoff lives on the line here at this point, and I think I'm with you. I would feel more comfortable starting Amon-Ra St. Brown with the Lions than I would any of those Denver receivers. I think even Jeudy,
sure.
would you agree?
For sure. Yeah, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's a top. I think he's a wide receiver too this week, to be honest, with his usage. If Jared Goff plays, which is no sure thing as well, with him being in the COVID protocol too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he can get out of it. But I will say, I don't know that David Blau or Tim Boyle, they're not the worst backups in the league. So it's a game against Atlanta. That defense is wretched. So maybe there's still some hope for him. I think St. Brown is locked into a fair number of targets no matter who's back there. James also in the chat again. He heard us mention Dak Prescott's performance recently. Coach, you teased your quarterback start sit article. He is in there as a start. You said you like him this week. Hard not to against that Washington defense. James is a Cowboys fan, so he could never bench him. Just wants to hear our thoughts on his performance of late. Well, it hasn't been pretty, but this is, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I'm sure you discuss it further in the column. So I'll kind of give you the floor here first, but this is a prime week for him to turn around. I don't think the Cowboys offense is as bad as they've been in recent weeks. That is for sure.
Yeah. And the matchup this week is great. I have Dak in the league, and it's been, luckily I've had the rest of my teams been carrying their, more than their share of the weight. So, he's struggled over the last 3 weeks. It's been pretty low, as far as fantasy points. I think he's been 12, 12 and 11 in most leagues. But this week, the football team is dead last in the league against opposing quarterbacks. And just gave up a nice 27 or 28 points to Jalen Hurts last week, even after he spotted them 2 turnovers in the first quarter there, and one of them was pretty. It was one of the most crazy interceptions I've ever seen off of the back of Goddard's foot there. But 2 things that I mentioned in the article: Washington being dead last against quarterbacks, and then Dak over his career averages 26.2 fantasy points against the football team in Dallas. So he's had multiple big games against them. I think 3 of his home games have been really good. One was okay, but still on the borderline for QB1. So I think you got to play him this week unless you have a better option, which, to me, there's probably only a handful of guys that would be a better option. So.
Yeah, that is one thing to point out. Each of the last 3 games for Dallas have been on the road. So that is something to note. In fact, you add in their game against Kansas City 5 weeks ago on the road, and it's been overall just kind of a struggle, I think, for them offensively on the road. But, the one home game in that span was against the Raiders, and that was the Thanksgiving Day 36-33 shootout. I think Dak Prescott's going to be fine. When I look at even what happened in the first game against Washington, his fantasy line got killed by 2 picks. Other than that, there was decent yardage, threw a touchdown. So you clean up the interceptions and you're looking at 4, maybe even 6 points better in terms of fantasy production, depending on your league's scoring. The other thing I would point out too, aside from Washington, that's kind of the outlier here, but look at the teams they've faced the last 3 weeks. The Saints and then the Giants this past week. Saints 6th in adjusted defensive efficiency against the pass, and the Giants, yes, the lowly Giants, are a top 15 adjusted pass defense. They rank 13th, and the Giants have been playing a lot better defensively here as the season has gone on. So I think you're dealing with some tougher matchups than people maybe expected there too. You got all the weapons back, obviously. Michael Gallup, everyone's healthy again. I know the backfield's kind of a bit of an, who's who in terms of both guys being banged up a little bit, but also the way to attack the Washington defense is through the air, right? They are not that bad when it comes to stopping the run. Dak Prescott's going to be just fine this week. I agree with you on him being a start. He will be fine. James did say that he has noticed Dak performs better at home, so he's banking on that this week. I don't know if I'm going to go as far as Super Bowl contention just yet, but maybe you can come back and make me eat crow if the Cowboys make that run, James. How's that? We have Matt Stevens in the chat as well. Hello, Matt. You have a question for us, Coach. Jeff Wilson Jr., so that he's on tonight with the San Francisco 49ers against Tennessee. Of course, Elijah Mitchell again ruled out. My team, it's killing my team. I don't know how I'm still alive after him not playing last week, considering some of the other guys I had out as well. But so it'll be Jeff Wilson, the lead running back for San Francisco again tonight. Or should he leave his flex spot open for Justin Jackson? If Jackson doesn't go, he does have Amon-Ra St. Brown to plug in there as well. So, Coach, I know you said that you believe St. Brown wide receiver 2 range this week. I'm inclined to agree with you overall. I think he definitely has top 25 value. I might even be a little higher on him, even if Goff doesn't play, than you are. I think Justin Jackson, we're looking at a timeshare there. Austin Eckler's still limited in practice this week. Jackson played well enough last week. I don't see why the Chargers wouldn't split the workload there again. Ease Eckler's load. They're playing Houston, which is a great matchup. Jeff Wilson Jr., though, and these 49ers, these Shanahanigans, what are you thinking here?
To tell you the truth, depending on if Eckler's out, I think Justin Jackson becomes certainly in play. I do think he's going to split carries a little bit more than you would like to see. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, probably the best of all of these right now, unless Eckler is declared out. that might be but I would leave that decision until let's see, Sunday. Both those games are on Sunday, so I would leave that decision till then. I would not play Jeff Wilson tonight. Matchup's tough. Shanahan's always in play. This is Deebo Samuel's backfield. We all know that. So
stop.
So yeah, for me, I would definitely hold out for both those guys, and I would feel confident if even if Eckler plays, that I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is you're set to go with him.
All right, Matt adds that yes, he played Justin Jackson if Eckler is out. Struggling because he has Taylor and Jones at RB, Jefferson and Hollywood Brown at wide receiver. So he doesn't want to use Wilson and burn a spot. I think I'm going to go with Coach here. I do like Wilson tonight. Maybe it's just because the props article, Underdog Fantasy, I wrote earlier today. They had his yardage total only at like 60, which I thought was too low, just assuming he gets the volume. But then again, I think the 49ers are going to be able to pass tonight as well. So, like you say, Deebo Samuel keeps getting carries. He's had 6 carries or more in like 4 straight games now. So who knows? I think I'm comfortable with Amon-Ra St. Brown there as a backup plan. And then obviously if Austin Eckler is out, Justin Jackson would easily become the play there as an RB2. You agree with that, right? Like Jackson would be.
I do. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's the play.
So I think we're all on the same page there. So hopefully that helped you, Matt. Let's see here. Got time for a couple running back sits, Coach? How much longer are we looking at?
Yeah, I probably got another 5 minutes or so.
5 minutes? All right. Let's knock out some names here. We'll do some quick fire analysis.
Well, and I do have a question for you and anyone else that wants to weigh in as well.
Okay, sounds good. I'll give you a question before we hop off then. How's that?
Okay.
That'll be perfect. So we actually just covered one of Coach's 2 running back sits. Surprise, surprise. Jeff Wilson Jr. I think it's funny how when everyone asks questions in the chat, it somehow bleeds into your articles all the time. But the other sit you have is Devin Singletary with the Bills against the Patriots. Do we really know who's leading this Buffalo backfield? I'm not sure. I guess that's my initial analysis, but quick take why you chose to include Singletary as a guy you are avoiding this week, other than it's the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm just not looking to play a lot of pieces of this game. I think it's going to be another defensive struggle. I mean, I think you got to play like guys like Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. Probably not playing too much on the Patriots. Maybe their defense. There's not a whole lot there. I guess if Harris is out, Ramondre Stevenson becomes interesting again. But it looks like he's missing time too. So yeah, I'm pretty much staying off of the Patriots. And as far as the Bills, if you don't have Allen and you don't have Diggs, Gabriel Davis had a nice week last week, but I don't want to play him this week against the Patriots.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. So we got 3 more questions here coming up. So I guess we'll jump to those here. Matt adds a follow-up question to his. Maybe what he should be considering is starting Amon-Ra St. Brown over Marquise Brown if Tyler Huntley is back at quarterback for the Ravens. What are your thoughts on that? So I guess what we'd be doing here is flipping St. Brown to wide receiver 2, bumping Hollywood Brown down to that flex conversation, and then we'd be leaving it Justin Jackson or Hollywood Brown as the flex. Unless we wanted to pivot and go Jeff Wilson tonight. Does that change your outlook there, Annie? Of course, Jared Goff, we don't know about him with the Lions there too. So,
yeah, Marquise Brown is still getting the targets, even with Huntley there. Huntley really well last week, and
that's what I was going to say. Tyler Huntley's not bad.
yeah. Actually, he's part of my question too. St. Brown and Hollywood. That's a pretty tough call. I think I would slightly lean Brown just on the track record, and I do think that he's better with if he has Lamar or Huntley, he's going to be fine. Whereas I'm a little less certain with Amon if Goff is out that he's going to put up numbers. So I would lean slightly Hollywood.
Okay. All right. So that takes care of that. We have got Q McBride. We need to choose 2 for a flex in PPR. We've got Tony Pollard, Dallas taking on Washington. Gabriel Davis with the Bills against the Pats. Dawson Knox, same game. Damien Harris, Pats against the Bills, same game. Or A.J. Dillon against the Packers are playing the Browns on Christmas Day. How is that 2 days away? I have no idea. That's a hard pass for me on Gabe Davis. Dawson Knox, I'm okay with still starting as a tight end. In fact, I have to do that in one of the leagues I'm still alive in. However, I'd avoid it since we're talking about a flex here, just knowing Bills are playing the Patriots. Damien Harris is going to get the goal line work there with New England. Bills can't stop the run. Are they going to have a better game plan than that Monday night game? You would think so, but I guess only time will tell. So I like Damien Harris as one of these plays. Coach, do you agree? And if so, what would be your other play, or do you have 2 others you'd prefer?
I think I lean Damien Harris as well. And then I think I'm going to have to maybe go back a little bit on my word about the Bills offense. I could see playing Dawson Knox as well. I really don't want to have a lot of pieces of that game just because I do think it's going to be a little defensive slug match. But of those options, I think Knox is probably going to be the safest. If it's PPR. If it's not PPR, I kind of like Dillon.
It is PPR.
Okay. Yeah. So then give me Harris, and I think Knox. I got to go Knox out of those other.
Okay. My second one, I guess I just got to stick with the brand here. Assuming he's playing, Tony Pollard puts up double-digit PPR points last week on a 2 weeks after tearing his plantar fasciitis. I got to roll with it. Ship hasn't let me down yet, so I think I'll go Tony Pollard there. We know he has pass-catching ability. Cowboys can mix it up. I think we're both high on Dallas' offense this week, like we kind of talked about already, with their receivers and Prescott. And Ezekiel Elliott's still banged up, dealing with the knee injury, so I don't think Pollard's going to lose touches whatsoever. He's going to maintain that solid floor. They're kind of interchangeable, it almost feels like at this point to me. Let's see. Josh Olson asking Jeff Wilson or Deontay Foreman, both playing tonight. Of these 2, I think it's Jeff Wilson, and it's not particularly close. I would much rather play a lead running back against Tennessee's defense than I would the Titans running back in a game that I personally handicap this as Tennessee's going to be playing from behind, and you can't run against the 49ers. They have, wait for it, the number 2 ranked defense in terms of adjusted efficiency against the run. This feels like a Dontrell Hilliard game to me, to have that pass catching threat. So I'd go Wilson here. Do you disagree?
Yeah, I do think Wilson probably is the play because of volume. Foreman does have the other backs to contend with. Not a big fan of Wilson this evening. I think I'm lower on him than you are, but I like him better than Foreman. I'm not a big fan of Wilson tonight, but I do like him better than Foreman.
Yeah. I'm not like a super Wilson fan tonight. I just think that he's going to have the volume. He's going to get you a decent amount of points from yardage. And, if he falls in the end zone, then That's great too. Give you a little boost. So there you go. Josh Q. McBride again. He needs a tight end as TJ Hawkinson is gone. We're looking at Cole Kmet, Tyler Higbee, Pat Freiermuth, who's coming off a concussion, or Austin Hooper as options. Boy, let's see here. The Rams have got. I'm blanking on who the Rams play. Rams have Minnesota. Tyler Higbee is the first name that jumps out to me there. The Vikings, pretty decent against tight ends in terms of fantasy points allowed, though. Right. So I'll tell you who I really don't want initially, and that is Austin Hooper. I just don't trust that at all. I know Mark Andrews just tore up the Packers defense, so we're talking about the same position here, but no thank you. Baker Mayfield's not Aaron Rodgers, and Austin Hooper is not Mark Andrews. David Njoku could factor in there as well. So, Coach, do you have a lean here? The other guy I want to look at is Freiermuth a little more.
I kind of like Kmet.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's he was the leading receiver for the Bears here. He's been heavily targeted, 11, 7, 5, and 9 over the last few weeks here. Seattle is opposing wide receivers too. And I do think the Bears are going to have to pass to stay in that game. And I think be able to pass. I think Kmet's probably play there. The Vikings are so bad against wide receivers that I could see this just being Kupp, Beckham, and Van Jefferson just having their way with them. So to me, it would be, I think Kmet's the play.
Yeah, Kmet has been a regular staple of that tight end streamers column throughout the season. He wasn't in there this week just because we're trying to pick out some deeper options for you here in the playoffs, but it's hard to deny the target share. Justin Fields actually has not looked terrible as a quarterback. The other thing with Freiermuth, too, I'd like to see what the Chiefs kind of have going defensively. You know, if they're going to be healthy and get some of these guys back off virus protocol, that defense has been nasty. If they aren't, I think that opens them up for discussion. But in the end, I would be inclined to agree with those target shares that you just read out there for Kmet. Bears don't have much else in terms of receivers here at this point. So I think he's going to be a regular factor right down to the end for Chicago. One more from Q McBride. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Williams, or Darnell Mooney. These are two guys who are in your wide receiver start sit column, Coach. I have a feeling I know which way you're going to go.
Yeah, so for those guys, I like St. Brown the best of those guys. I think Mike Williams I could see being in that discussion. I think, but I prefer both. Seattle's tough on wide receiver. For me, Mooney is not a play. So I would go St. Brown those three.
I would definitely too, especially if Jared Goff plays. He can't beat the matchup against the Falcons. Matchup against Houston, somewhat intriguing. Texans quietly are decent against the pass. Now I know you think Keenan Allen and Mike Williams should be able to do their thing, but Houston is top 10. Wow, ranked 10th in adjusted efficiency defending the pass, and they are brutal against the run. So I think the Chargers, obviously, priority is going to be trying to establish the ground game, whether it's Eckler, Justin Jackson, or a combination of both there. In terms of volume and in terms of reliable target share, I think St. Brown's a play. So I would be right there with you. Quick, we've got Clap Nuts start 2. Brandon Ayuk, Michael Gallup, AJ Green, Devontae Parker, Gabriel Davis, Brandon Cooks, if healthy. This is a full PPR. If you need me to repeat that, I will.
Yeah, can I get those one more time?
Yep. We got Brandon Ayuk, so obviously tonight here in a matter of minutes. Michael Gallup with Dallas against Washington. AJ Green, Cardinals against the Colts. Devontae Parker, Jalen Waddle's going to be back for the Dolphins. They're playing the Saints. Tough matchup. Gabe Davis, I think that's a hard pass against New England. And then we've got Brandon Cooks if he clears the Schmid protocols.
I think AJ Green's locked into some pretty heavy targets. It's a tough matchup. I think the Devontae Parker will take a little bit of a back seat with Waddle back this week. Cooks, if healthy, becomes certainly playable. Gallup, there's just a lot of targets there. I think Green's probably going to see the most targets. And I do think the Cardinals are going to come out and I think they will look to make a statement after getting embarrassed last week. I kind of like Green, I think, as probably the safest of those.
10 targets, 8 targets the last 2 weeks for AJ Green. He's only rostered 65% of leagues on Sleeper. What are we doing? The Cardinals are going to have to throw the ball to beat the Colts. Like, you cannot run on that defense. So, now whether or not Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray figured that out is another story, but AJ Green's the guy there now.
Yeah, I think he's the safest play of those.
I think I'm right there with you. The other guy I'd look at is Brandon Cooks. But A, does he clear virus protocol? And B, in terms of adjusted defense, the Chargers are pretty tough against the pass. Davis Mills and a good pass defense seems like a bad combination to me. Clapnuts has one more. We got running backs here quick now, so same full PPR league. Deandre Swift, if he is healthy, Jamal Williams, or Rashad Penny. This is an interesting one. My initial lean is Jamal Williams, but the question becomes, how does Detroit want to use Craig Reynolds as he's done well while both those guys are out? Coach, you were much higher than Rashad Penny on me last week. I know our head man, Zach Bruner, likes him as well. I like him as a player. I just don't trust Seattle's offensive line. Much easier matchup, though, against the Bears. Are you back on that bandwagon here for this scenario?
Yeah, give me Penny. I think he's probably got the biggest workload of all three of these guys. And I do think the Seahawks are the most likely to win between the Lions and Seattle there.
Yeah, for sure. He had 11 carries last week and kind of got phased out of that game just because of how it was shaping up. He split touches with DJ Dallas, so that's something to note. But again, what is the Lions backfield going to look like if Swift comes back? I think that, you could make an argument that he and Williams, and then you throw in Reynolds, maybe even a little bit there too. I don't imagine Reynolds is going to get nothing based on how he's played the last couple of weeks, so that could just be a cannibalization, if that's a word, of the whole bunch there. So hopefully that helped, Clapnuts. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. Coach, I know we got to hop off here in a couple minutes. You said you got a question for me, though, so I guess I'll let you fire away here. Okay.
I'm gonna shoot quick. Ryan Tannehill, Justin Fields, or hold out for seeing if I can get Huntley off of free agency. I'm a dog. I'm about a 15-point dog.
Okay.
Justin Fields did not practice today. I have the lowest waiver in a super flex. So Huntley possibly will be taken. So there's not much else out there, but I just don't think Tannehill's got that upside. I'm kind of off with him. He's been pretty abysmal as of late.
Yeah. I think Tannehill is going to have a solid yardage game, and solid by his standards, right? Like, I don't know that it's going to be enough to, shoot for the moon kind of there as you're sitting as an underdog, but I don't know how much Tennessee's going to score. I think the Niners are the much better team in this game tonight. If I had to go upside, it's going to be Fields. And I feel kind of ridiculous saying that. I'm just looking
the
here.
matchup's terrible.
What's that?
The matchup's terrible, and I have 1 minute here to decide. But Seattle has not allowed very much for rushing yards to quarterback, so that was my hesitation with Fields. To be honest, if Huntley plays, I think I'm actually going to try and I'm making a waiver move on him. So we'll see. That'd be my
If you can land Huntley, I wouldn't be opposed to starting him. But in terms of upside, I think you have to go with the two quarterbacks who have more mobility. Just like as a general thing, I don't really want anything to do with Tannehill and the Titans right now. Even though AJ Brown's coming back, that doesn't really move the needle for me. Seahawks are 28th in adjusted efficiency against the pass defensively. So I would think Fields can do something there. But again, like you say, they take away wide receivers well. So I would still hold out for Sunday, though. And I know we're basically at buzzer here for you. So.
It's past the moment, so I left Tannehill on the bench. You had a question for me too. What was that?
I did. So I may have caught a break because when I logged into this league here to pull it up for you, I learned that Dalvin Cook is on the virus list. So now I'm going to be starting Alexander Madison as a surefire play this week, but I could still ask the question anyway. So I'm in a 16-teamer. I'm on St. Brown into one of three starting receiver spots. Madison and Damien Harris are my two running backs, so that leaves me with this log jam for flex. Pollard, Chase Edmonds, Braxton Berrios, Laquan Treadwell, Rex Burkhead. Obviously, my lean is Pollard, but am I being biased? Because that Jets-Jaguars game, low-key could be a shootout.
I think you got to go Pollard. That's your guy. If Connor's out, Edmonds is a slam dunk.
Even against the Colts?
Yeah. I think he's going to get passing game usage then. I think you got to play him even in a terrible matchup. I just think that there'll be passing game opportunities there. Yeah. If Connor plays, what were the other options?
Berrios, Treadwell, Rex Burkhead. Notice how this question would have been a lot more difficult if Pollard was stuck as my RB2, and then I was down to these guys for flex.
I kind of like Berrios.
Okay. All right. Do you like me picking up Trevor Lawrence and starting him over Mac Jones? We on board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How did you do last week?
Lawrence?
Yeah, with Urban Meyer out of there.
Not very great. 10.5 fantasy points. 110 yards passing. This is the Jets defense, though. Like I said, the Texans defense, sneaky tough against the pass. So,
I mean that Bills Patriots game, I think that's going to be just that's going to be a grinded out, just divisional winter. Just that's not a game for fantasy goodness. I think I'd much rather take my shot with Trevor Lawrence.
Breakout game. It's got to happen. And I'm already stuck starting Diggs and Dawson Knox. from that game.
Yeah.
So I'd like to call it there if I can.
That's enough.
And
Yep,
Damien
that's
Harris,
enough.
actually. So, yeah,
Yep.
I got too much going on in that game already. But, all right, cool. You got anything else?
No, I got to get going here. Got the holidays. Happy holidays to you and to
Thank
everyone.
you.
That good luck to everyone. Hopefully, we have you here next week, and we're all getting ready to win some championships.
Yeah, come on back. Let's do this again. Week 17 championships, new week 17 championship week in fantasy football. So, yes, as Coach said, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all of you. I guess we'll be back on before the new year, so I can say Happy New Year next week. But yeah, best of luck in week 16. If you have any other start-sit questions, you can hit either of us up on Twitter. Kevin at Schroeder Coach, and then I'm at Hank Time Henry. You can tweet at Fantasy Flurry as well. Zach Bruner, you can check out his rankings to help with your advice. He'll update those as far as virus stuff goes right up to kickoff for you. Those streamers for every position and coaches start-sit columns for quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Bunch of names we didn't get to in those, so be sure to check those out as well. All over on flurrysports.org. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the great questions. It's been a blast. Hit the notification bell and subscribe. We really appreciate it. That'll do it. Coach, Merry Christmas. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you all next week. Best of luck, week 16. Let's do it. Let's get some dubs.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Henry. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thanks for joining us.